Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. In today's recipe, I'm going to show you how to make a homemade tomato puree. Yes, it's absolutely simple. It has just about 2 simple steps which I'm going to show you. And this tomato puree is extremely critical in many forms of dishes like a kofta curry or aloo dum or many other different types of dishes where we need a homemade thick tomato puree, including pasta sauces and salsas and so many other things. So without wasting any time, let me just dive right in and show you how to make a homemade tomato puree. So to begin making the tomato puree, the first thing I'm going to do is add all my tomatoes, which I have halved and kept. So I have removed the core, which is where the stem is, and then finally taken it off in a very thin slice of it, and then cut the tomato into half. So and I'm going to add all these tomatoes into my pressure cooker, and then we'll give it about 2 whistles after the pressure cooking. We'll be adding just a little bit water. Okay, so we'll just first go ahead and add it, and then I'm just going to add very little water because the tomatoes give out a lot of water. About a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of water is what you need to sort of coat the bottom of the pan, because the tomatoes release a lot of water and liquid themselves when we're pressure cooking it. And once the pressure cooking is done, I'm going to turn off the heat and I'll take you through the next steps. So we'll pressure cook it for about 2 whistles and then turn off the heat, and after 2 whistles we'll allow the pressure to release. Naturally it releases really quickly because it's tomatoes, and after that we'll allow it to cool and then puree it. Okay. So after 2 whistles, the pressure is released completely. I allowed it to rest. It took less than a minute for the pressure to release because tomatoes are very fast to cook and releases the pressure almost immediately as well. So notice that the tomatoes are perfectly cooked, and if you notice that the skin of the tomatoes have got separated, and that's exactly what we want. And you also will notice a lot of water at the bottom. So tomatoes release a lot of water in spite of just adding about a tablespoon of water just to coat the bottom of the pan. So now what I'm going to do is to actually transfer the tomatoes to a nice white bowl and then cool it completely. Okay. Just be careful when you do that. There you go. It's just perfect. And what I'm going to do is to now allow the tomatoes to cool completely, and once it cools, like place it under the fan. That's what I do always. Like go ahead and take this and place it under the fan full speed and allow it to cool. It take about 15 minutes to cool, and after it cools we will remove the skin of the tomatoes and then make a nice thick puree. Let's just cool it first and then I'll take you to the next step. So the tomatoes have cooled completely and I'm ready to peel off the skin. I'm going to keep the tomatoes separately in a bowl, and then the skin in a separate bowl, and the water, we will not be using it right now. Okay, so notice how beautiful it becomes to peel the tomato skin, because once you pressure cook it, it just comes out beautifully, and the tomatoes have cooked really well and perfect to make a nice thick tomato puree, which you can store in the refrigerator for a good 1 week, okay, in an airtight container. So that's it. So I don't like to discard the seeds because the seeds just get ground, so they're good, so we don't have to waste them. So we'll just take the pulp out. Any remaining liquid, just keep it to the side. Whatever water was there that got released from the tomatoes, add it to your dal, add it to your pulavs, soups, or anything. It's a stock, right? So use it as required. Great. So I'm just going to remove the skin. It becomes really easy to make tomato puree. And so I sort of keep a batch of tomato puree. I make like a 1 kg of tomatoes is sometimes I use, and then make a tomato puree and then just put it in the refrigerator, and then we're good to go, right? So I can use it to make koftas or aloo dums or anything, any type of dish that requires whether it's a tablespoon or it requires a 1 cup of tomato puree, 2 cups, or even a pasta sauce, becomes super easy. Great. So now this is good. Now that I have all of this removed, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the mixer grinder and make a nice fine puree. I'm going to go ahead and add in my tomatoes, cooked tomatoes, into the mixer grinder. Okay, perfect. And we will puree them now. Now that the tomatoes are pureed, I'm ready to put them away in a bowl and then make a variety of different dishes. As I said, you can store the tomato puree in an airtight container for about a week, okay? And you can make take a kilogram of tomatoes, half them, put it in the pressure cooker, cook it, peel the skin, puree it, and then you have a nice thick tomato puree ready to use. So when you have ready tomato puree at home, then it becomes very easy to make any type of dish, and it doesn't take time to cook the dish at all. All you need is those vegetables, masalas, and then put together, give a brisk boil. In 15 minutes, your dish could be ready. So I hope you enjoyed watching this recipe of how to make a homemade tomato puree. Really simple, used in a variety of dishes, from our gravies to corimbas, to kofta curries, to biryanis, to aloo dums, to pasta sauces, right? So many various dishes. So do give this recipe a try, and when you do, don't forget to share your comments below, and also don't forget to tag us across all your social channels by taking a snapshot of it and posting it in your social channel. So until then, until next time, happy cooking and healthy eating.